you can beat me. Absolutely not. Life's not like that. We're survivors. That's what the goal here is to get up today and get to tomorrow and do it as productively and as joyfully as we can. And so what I'm saying is that my instructors told me what you need to do, Steve, is you need to master one technique. Even though you're only a beginner at a white belt level, you need to develop one technique that becomes your favorite technique, that you have full confidence in, the ability to know that this technique is going to work for me. And so the very first technique that my instructors taught me was the reverse punch. It's just a punch, but if I'm out there and I'm sparring as a white belt beginner, I was a fairly good student. I had already been trained in judo, and I worked at Fish and Piers, and I was strong. I was athletic. So they didn't disrespect me, so to speak, but they knew they were superior to me in their rank and their skill level, and that they had techniques that they should be able to beat me in a match. Well, I learned how to block. I learned how to get in a stance and put a cover up, put my guard up, and I had this reverse punch. And I'll tell you what, when they came in and attacked me and tried to set me up for some of their techniques, I scored a great deal of the time with my reverse punch, and that gave me a great confidence that I'm a white belt, but yet I got my point on that black belt instructor. And then the next technique that I developed was a sidekick, and I had an instructor that had the best sidekick. His name was Keith Hayflick. May he rest in peace. Keith Hayflick was one of the toughest men that I've ever known in my life. I met him one night when he had just got out of prison. I was a white belt, one of the top students in the school, though, in my division. Well, Keith Hayflick came in, and I didn't know who he was, and he took over the class. He came over to Warren, my instructor, and said, I'd like to take over the class. Warren gave him the class for the next 2 hours, and so we had a sparring class. Keith sparred every single person in that class. There were about 21 people in class that night. But he just played with them. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't do anything. He just showed them that he was a professional fighter, is what I didn't tell you. Keith Hayflick was a full contact fighter. Later, after we went through this initial meeting, I became very close friends with him, and I was his sparring partner for 6 of his professional fights. And he fought Jeff Smith, the D.C. Bomber, for the World Light Heavyweight Full Contact Karate Championship and for the title. And I'm proud to say that I trained with Keith Hayflick, and for those fights, I was his only sparring partner because nobody else was stupid enough to fight with Keith. So anyway, this night that I met Keith, we got out there, we bowed, and the very first thing he did was he sidekicked me with this phenomenal sidekick that he had, and he broke my rib. It hurt. And I backed off. I touched my hand to my rib, and I was in a lot of pain. And then I bowed to him, and then I took my sparring stance, and then we continued the fight. Keith Hayflick kicked me in the exact same spot with the exact same kick on the rib that he had already broken. That's a pretty rough deal. So I was hurt. We bowed. We continued the fight, and I was unable to continue. I guess we fought for about another 3 or 4 minutes, and it was a tough thing. Then finally I just stepped back, and I was forced to stop. I bowed. I sat down on the floor against the wall, and the class went on for another 45 minutes. He sparred another 11 or 12 people, and I just sat there. I could feel my rib. I later went to the hospital and had it taped. But I was sitting there on the floor, and Keith Hayflick came over to me, and he said, "How's the rib?" Well, needless to say, I was pretty irritated at this guy. I didn't know who he was and why he did that. I later found out that he'd just gotten out of prison and this was his first night out, and he just needed to let it out or something. And I looked at him when he said, "So how's the rib?" And I said, "Nice of you to ask. It's okay." And he says, "Do you know why I did that to you?" And I said, "Oh, no, tell me why you did this to me." And he said, "'Cause I knew you could take it." Well, welcome to one of my karate stories. I've waited a long time to share that on the air. So right now, today, I just want to tell you, that take responsibility for yourself, educate yourself, and do things that are productive, not just active for yourself. Don't be spinning your wheels like the hamster. And I just want to thank Jim Stovall for allowing me to communicate his wisdom to everyone that I know through Right Thinking with Steve Coplon. My purpose for me, by the way, my productivity is, my goal is to be out there and help other people. Money is a means to an end. And so now I'm just trying to stay very focused so that I can achieve the success that I want, which is to be able to help other people have a better life. So go to jimstovall.com. Stovall is ALLJIMSTOVALL.com. Go to rightthink.org, RIGHTTHINK.org, and connect with me. We're there for you. And I just want to say again, Jim, God bless you. And everyone out there, God bless each one of you, and have a wonderful week. Thanks for listening to Right Thinking with Steve Coplon. I look forward to being with you again next week. And remember, don't quit, plan ahead, it will get better. God bless you and have a great week.